What is going on, good people? How we doing? Happy Wednesday. Hopefully, everyone is doing as well as they possibly can. I know it's been a real tough week for all of us, looking into what's going on in the world, what just took place in Texas, what took place last week in Buffalo, what took place in Orange County within that same week of last week, and other places as well. It is starting to become something that we are now accustomed to in these massive shootings, and particularly school massive shootings. And it's really unfortunate to think that it's okay. I don't want to say it's okay, because I'm still an optimistic person. So I don't want to say like people think it's okay. But it is something that we're starting to grow numb to, because this is happening so often. And unfortunately, there hasn't been anything done within our country to combat these illnesses that are taking place. I think that's the best way to put it. Regardless of where we sit on what we follow, what we subscribe to, as far as political parties, one thing that we should all be in agreement to is that innocent lives, innocent kids' lives should be off limits. And if something is happening that interrupts the flow of innocent life, then we all should act accordingly and try to do our damnedest to ensure that something like a tragedy such as elementary school kids being shot is something that never happens again. But unfortunately, this is the umpteenth time something like this has happened in our country. And there is I think a great map, a meme, whatever you want to call it, of like a cycle that happens in our society where there is a massive school shooting. And it's like when it first happens, we're all outraged. We all can't believe it. We all then feel a sense of anger. We all feel emboldened to try to act on something. We then may tweet about it. We may come to social media and we talk about it, and then we have discussions. Life starts to get back to normal. We get distracted by something else, and nothing ever changes. So I put up that meme on my Facebook. I'm still one of the people who still use Facebook, and I asked the question like, what can we do to break this cycle? And I think that's something that we should all be asking ourselves. Is like, what can we do to break this cycle? What can we do to change what needs to be changed? And some people, would take on the political fight and say that, well, until we have people in power who believe in the safety of our children and not like the status quo of their seat or their role within that seat, then nothing is going to change. And, that's one aspect to put on. There's other things that we can do as well. I often think too, like when something like this happened, I think Mr. Fab had an interesting post. He posted the pictures of all the kids, and, side note, like I'm shocked that we are able to see these kids face. I guess the family said it was okay to use the faces of these kids, but at the same time, it has to be tough for these families that the children who were cut short, faces like plastered everywhere. But I digress. So anyway, he posted all of the kids' pictures up in a meme, and then he said it's a proverb that says the neglected child comes back to burn the village. And I thought that is a very interesting quote to use in this picture. But nonetheless, like, just to stick on that point out, when something like this happens, I wonder like what was going on in the mind of the people who put things like this together, who go out and execute these plans to, kill innocent people. And I think that's another avenue where we can start too, is if understanding what is the learned behavior, because I'm sure if you looked at this massive shooting, the shooting in Buffalo, going back to Dylan Roof, going back to Columbine, there are certain things that are in common with all of these shootings. I'm sure, I haven't done the research to look at it, but I want to. I'm sure there are a lot of commonalities. There's a couple items I'm sure intersect, throughout. I bring all this up to say, like, it's more than just like waiting on politicians to do something. It's something that we all can do. This is a serious matter, and there's a part for all of us to play. So whether we're someone who don't want to let this story die down, who always wants to keep the memory of these kids alive, like, that's one aspect. If we're someone who are finger warriors, who get up and put together change.org petitions and make sure we get all of our friends and all that stuff to follow and sign, then we can do that too. There's other elements that we can look into, like what is going on within society that allows such a thing to happen. Just going off of that Mr. Fab quote, like, if this is truly indeed someone that was neglected, because this person shot their grandmother before they went to that school. Like, what other things can we do? What other things can we look for? What are the other signs? And so I think that's something too that, we all can look into. But my point is, there's something that we all can do, right? And instead of just saying, like, thoughts and prayers, and I'm going to close this particular point on this, right? When we say thoughts and prayers, I was just talking to Ashley about this a little earlier today. I believe that faith, as well as like a prayer, is answered when we work towards something. Whatever we're praying for, whatever we believe in ourselves that something can happen, it works when we work towards it. Right? Like, I think the word is prayer without works is dead, right? So there has to be an action that is involved. So for everyone who will say my thoughts and my prayers, hopefully there is action put behind those thoughts and those prayers to, like, make something happen, or to make someone have a better or a positive outlook. Because there's other avenues that we have to work on that front too. Because there are families that are affected by this, and they're going to be forever affected. The kids that were at the school who knew those kids are going to be affected forever traumatized. So there is work for all of us to do in certain aspects. So I wanted to talk about that. It's hard to, like, just hop on and, like, talk about something else, and not mention that. But thank y'all for letting me just spill real quick and just stand on that podium real quick. What's going on, B-Stack? I see you in here, man. What's happening with you, gang? So what we are here today to talk about is the latest and the greatest of culture appropriating, corporate appropriating. I'm sure by now you all have seen pictures of this new flavored ice cream. That, since, it was advertised, has now been pulled down, rightfully so, right? But Walmart thought it would be a great idea to use their great value line. For those of us who've ever shopped at Walmart, we know that, like, Walmart has a line, like most stores do. From those of us who from the Bay, you go to Safeway, like Select is like the Safeway brand, or the Vons brand. Safeway and Vons is the same store. Northern California, Safeway, Vons is Southern California. But, like, that Select brand is like the brand of the store. So Great Value is the brand of the Walmart store. And seeing that Juneteenth is now, a national holiday. Walmart wanted to ensure that they didn't miss a beat, and they found a way to economically capitalize on the holiday, now the federal holiday of Juneteenth, and came together to present this ice cream in celebration of Juneteenth. And from what I see, there might be different flavors, but take a look at the picture. The picture is up on my flyer, but it's interesting. The details of this flavor of this ice cream is like, you can tell somebody did their research, because one of the traditions of celebrating Juneteenth is to have strawberry soda and velvet cake, red velvet cake. The flavors of the ice cream was red velvet. So someone has done their research, to present this, which I find to be real interesting, to put that out on the board and then, put it on the shelves and then advertise it to the masses. Celebration edition style, which is very interesting, because now I'll be the first to tell you that I don't shop at Walmart. And it's not like, I'm taking pride, like, oh, I don't shop at Walmart. But like where I stay, there isn't a Walmart around nowhere close to where I stay. We are surrounded. This is Target territory. We bang Target where I stay. Right? There are several Targets. There are at least 5 to 6 Targets that, are within driving distance to where I stay. And that's not even including the one that's like at the mall. I'm thinking of, there's a couple. There's one down at USC and, nearby, blah, blah, blah. But I digress. So I don't shop at Walmart. And it's just, logistics being the main reason, just, where I stay. But for those of us who do, you know what I mean? Like, I know it's some of us who are tapping in, that's like from where I'm from, like in the P. And we the biggest, for the longest, like the biggest store that we had in Pittsburgh was Walmart. Right? That was like the biggest like supplier of goods, was Walmart. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen a celebration edition for any other culture come from the Great Value brand of Walmart. Like, I've never seen a Holocaust celebration, the end of the Holocaust, world celebrating edition of Holocaust ice cream. I've never seen it. I've never seen the ending of Japanese endearment camps celebrating edition. Like, I've never seen anything other than what is presented to me now. And I think there is a reason as to why we've never seen that. If y'all have seen that, if y'all seen like in honor of Hanukkah, we're going to break out this celebration edition of ice cream from the Great Value, in celebration of Indigenous Heritage Month, or in celebration of Hispanic History Month. Like, we have like different flavors of ice cream, or whatever the case may be. I've never seen it. I've never seen something like that take place. And if it has, like, y'all correct me, but there is a reason as to why we've never seen that from any other group but ours. And it's not just the ice cream, right? They had like the celebration plates, the napkins, and all of that, which, to be very honest and transparent with y'all, like, I'm not so upset at black pepper. Right. So that's what it is, right? It is this issue of the consumer. Somewhere down the line, someone did research for Walmart and said, hey, y'all, this will be a great way for us to make money And also, this would be a great way for us to show that we are inclusive with the communities, with the people who spend the most money here with us. You know, again, I have not looked at a poll, but I'm guaranteeing you that black folk, we number one in spending money with places like Walmart, right? And if we're not number one, we are close by the skin of our teeth second, right? Yes, I do believe that it was a black person making that call. Now bring me up to my other point. But so this, what I'm trying to say is like, this didn't come out the blue. This is already something that's been in motion. As soon as they announced that this Juneteenth was going to be a national holiday, you can go back and look at a lot of different comedians and people hopped online and like start like making jokes like, oh, get ready, y'all, because they about to have Juneteenth. You know, we about to see a dealership, some dealership, whether it's going to be Chevy or Jeep or Ford, or Kia, some dealership is going to have a Juneteenth car sale promotion. Right? It's going to happen. And for me, the issue is understanding that we have to take these things from our culture way more serious so that someone would never even think about putting something like this on display as a way to show solidarity or to show inclusion. So going back to Ashley's point, which I think is a great point. Not only about black folks spending money, the other thing too about who was in charge. If you look up the person who is the chief diversity and inclusion officer for Walmart, you will find a picture of someone who is of the same hue as us. All right? Hold on, Doc said it's interesting because many black people fought for the acknowledgement of Juneteenth nationally, and then capitalism tries to, recolonize it. And that happens all the time, especially with us. You got to think about, look at our culture on display, like for music, for example. The number one genre of music in the world is hip hop. And look how that's being exploited throughout. The commercials that come on that got hip hop. And at one point they didn't even want to show rap videos on TV. The first Grammys that was given out to hip hop artists boycotted because they was not showing that Grammy be put on TV. Right? But now look at how hip hop is being used, or like not just hip hop. I would say even like soul music. Like Wendy's got a commercial right now, right, where it's a black woman who comes in and orders some food, and then like all of a sudden they getting bust down like in this R&B song, like you got that bag, right? This happens. This is happening all over the place, right? So it's interesting, but yeah. So we know that corporation is going to come in and try to bring in. I mean, this is what this country is built upon. This country is built upon enslavement and capitalism. Enslavement was started because of capitalism. How about that? So, right, it has a nice little jingle to it. I understand. Most things do. Like, sometimes we don't even catch it because like the melody is dope. So we vibing out to it. We rocking with it. But understanding like where does that come from? That comes from somewhere else. So going back to the chief diversity officer for Walmart is a gentleman by the name of Ben Hassan. Now Ben has had a big, corporate career. He's been in corporate for a long time. Over 17 years of experience in dealing with corporations, with Walmart, but also like from a global standpoint. So his official title is Senior Vice President and Global Chief Culture, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Walmart Incorporated. Right? So when you look at Ben's resume, which they have posted in his bio, this is very Googleable. Anyone can Google this up, right? You go ahead and you Google this and you look at his resume. Ben has incredible experience in doing information systems and doing project managing, vendor management, international vendor management, business, from doing business from Southern, the South Americas, whether it's Brazil or Mexico or Portuguese, like even going down to like Asia, places in Asia, from Singapore to Tibet. Like he's internationally like done a lot of great business, right? But nowhere down the line of all of Ben's achievements and even in his degrees, right? This man has a distinguished alumni award from, what is this? Amberton University in Dallas. He got his BA in management. He also has a MBA from Harvard Business School, I should say. He has his bachelor's of business and marketing from Temple University, and the list goes on and on and on about his achievements. But one thing you do not see nowhere mentioned in all these things that Ben has done, there has not been any kind of social justice work whatsoever. He wasn't a part of, well, they don't highlight him being a part of any kind of cultural organizations, whether it's a BSU or ASU. It don't look like he was a part of any Black Divine Nine fraternity or sorority within his resume. At least it's not posted on his page, nor is it posted on his LinkedIn page. There is nothing about being a part of any aspects of diversity, inclusion, whatsoever. And this is very important if you're going to have a title such as Ben's title. Again, the Global Chief Culture, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Officer. That is his title. You have a title like that, but you have no history of serving in an organization that was about culture, that was about diversity, that was about equity, or that was about inclusion. Then you're going to be led to okay decisions like what you decided. Because again, there was research done to present this ice cream and the package of this ice cream. Because if y'all go back and you look at the picture, look at this picture of this ice cream. Number one, they got different hue hands, right? There's dark brown, light skinned hands on the packaging, right? And this is like people coming together. It's like hands like this, like coming together. They even have the Juneteenth flag, right? Which is a star with an outline of a star that's surrounded in blue and red, because those are the colors of Juneteenth, which are the colors of Texas. And that's another thing too. I see a lot of us like branding Pan-African colors with Juneteenth, and that's okay. I understand it, because Juneteenth initially is about, the freedom and the liberation of our people in Texas, which I get. But those are the traditional colors of Juneteenth is red and blue, or blue and red, depending on, how you depict it. It's not red, black, and green. But, I digress. So I say that because there's been a lot of research done to put this package together. And so when it was presented to that diversity team that our friend, our dear brother, Ben sits on, he was like, great, it looks great. Go ahead. Boom. Proved it. And then it went out to the masses, right? The issue with that is if anyone who celebrates Juneteenth, anybody who celebrates Juneteenth understands the severity of what this holiday represents. It's also very interesting to even call it a holiday if we know like the true history behind it. It's a day that we celebrate for sure, because we're talking about freedom of our ancestors, And the story, we know the story. We know that they were told close to 3 years after the fact, the Emancipation Proclamation was passed. It took close to 2.5 years, 2.5 to 3 years for this particular section of Texas to find out. So they found out this news about them being free some 2.5 years ago. So it's a real like significance as to what this day is and how we celebrate it and why we celebrate it. So the one thing you can't do is package this holiday into a commodity such as ice cream. And there's so many jokes in my head that's like lined up with like ice cream. Now, most folk, not all, I'll say this, a lot of us who have melanin within our DNA is lactose intolerant, right? Like ice cream, like the last day we try to eat. You know what I mean? I digress. But it's interesting, though, that was packaged, as ice cream. The other interesting thing about this thing is that this is trademarked. Walmart trademarked the right of Juneteenth. Well, Walmart owns the trademark for Juneteenth for flavors or for food. So if you are a black-owned company, you put together a Juneteenth menu at your restaurant, you got a trap kitchen or whatever the case may be, whatever your food company is called, you want to put something together for Juneteenth and you start advertising this everywhere, put this on display, you might get sued by Walmart because they own the rights to the trademark for the flavor and food. Again, like this is research. And if Walmart didn't think that it was going to be something that was going to be big or something that they knew that folks celebrated, then why did they trademark it? The other question I have too is like, for now it's just flavor and food, but what's to stop Walmart from trademarking everything? So we have to be together on certain items when it comes to our culture. And this is one of those things that we have to be together on so that we don't get presented ice cream, Juneteenth ice cream, right? From a company that has had a history of minoritizing their black employees. We know this, right? We know that Walmart has been sued for the mistreatment of their employees. And majority of those employees were folks of color, black and Latinx folk. So, this is serious. And I'm looking at, I've been sent a lot of different things. I want to shout out, a couple of different people who sent me some stuff on this. Like my boy, Mike Frank, sent me the video of, what the Walmart trademarking is. Other people have sent me, like Jonathan, my boy Jonathan, sent me a couple of different videos too. And then it's like a thread of like comedians like coming on and like talking about like, what this is. And I'm gonna say this, and I know laughter for us in our community is a part of how we cope, right? Our ancestors who were enslaved still had time to laugh. Wasn't shit funny, but they laughed. And that's because they were trying to find a way to cope with what was going on during that time. And we still use comedy as a way to cope with the things that we're dealing with, like that trauma that we are dealing with. But at the same time, it becomes important for us to hold shit at its value, right? Like, we're not playing around when it comes to like Juneteenth. We're not playing when it comes to celebrating this. We're not playing when it comes to celebrating anything within our culture. And there has to be a united front on that so that we don't get hit with the ice cream. Because I'm going to tell you something. It's ice cream this year. Next year, it might be short ribs. The year after that, it might be sweet potato pie. The year after that, it might just be a velvet cake. Because, again, these folks done their research. There are music symbols on the ice cream packaging because also they know that music is a big part of the celebration of Juneteenth, particularly drums. So if they know that, they also know what's going to be served at the quote unquote picnic that folks keep inviting other people who are not a part of the culture to. So we have to make sure that we take a stance on this stuff and come together. This is not the time to be like, it ain't that big of a deal. what, I don't really care. I don't celebrate Juneteenth anyway. And that to me is a part of the problem. But I don't blame any black folk who say they don't celebrate Juneteenth, because I understand that we haven't been introduced to a lot of our cultural practices. A lot of things that we do for the culture, we do it off of just like memory that was passed on to us from another generation. You know what I mean? Why we pour out liquor, that comes from libations. Libations come from, that comes directly from our time with being on the continent, right? But nowadays we'll pull out liquor. When the subtle cues that we have, the language that we speak to each other, but I saying the word, when you pass by another black person, you get them with that one. Yeah, that's culture. That's something that is ingrained, that's within us, right? We don't know where these things come from, but that comes from our past. That comes from our legacy. And unfortunately, a lot of things we still like, no, I don't rock with that. I don't celebrate Juneteenth. I celebrate the 4th of July. You don't have to choose one or the other. You do not have to choose one or the other. Here in this household, we celebrate the 4th of July. We celebrate Juneteenth. We celebrate Juneteenth. We celebrate the 4th of July. It'd be damn if someone tell me that I can't celebrate the 4th of July as much as what my ancestors done to make this country what this country is. The first person to die for this country in the Civil War was a black person, a black soldier. So yeah, we celebrate the 4th of July. Right? But like we get caught up in stuff like, nah, bro, I don't rock with Kwanzaa, man. I'm Christian. We celebrate Christmas. It has nothing to do with your spirituality, family. This is something that's more time like in tune with our culture. So we have to make sure that people recognize how serious something like this is, which I'm happy that enough folk made a bunch of noise so that this can get pulled down from the shelves, and it's not going to be in Walmart, to be for purchase, because you can't package the pain, you can't package the suffering, you can't package what it meant for those folks to be free, but also to be like behind, because we were just like put out, pretty much. You had to figure it out on our own. So this becomes serious. The other thing that becomes serious too is like, it's so important. Like, nowadays, especially, you see more and more roles popping up with folks like having these titles as diversity chief or equity and inclusion officers. It's important for us to understand that the people that are in these positions, they need to have a history of serving in positions prior. Maybe it wasn't like for a corporation, but like you should, hopefully they belong to some kind of org that was, that's social justice focused and driven, right? Now that's another interesting point, coming from like the other end too, because there are going to be, and there are a lot of black companies that also, put things out for Juneteenth, and that's fine, because again, that's from within the culture. You know what I mean? Like things that are indigenous to the culture. If someone of that culture wants to put that out for sale, that's fine. It's no issue with that. No issue with that whatsoever. So, and again, like as I was saying before, I'm not really like. I'm upset, by it, but like, I think it is important for us to have like things to celebrate Juneteenth. So napkins and decorations and stuff like that. Like we need that. We need a black-owned company to make stuff like that. And there are a few that are like, I know there are a couple, like y'all got to follow like our girl from Kwanzaa Me, who we had on here prior, like talking about the things that they do for Juneteenth and Kwanzaa. Like, I know they make a lot of things, decorations and things like that. So like, it's important for us to like find those people and to like patronize their businesses, because again, this is coming from within the culture. But my point tonight is to make sure that we understand that like, this stuff ain't to be played with, man. Our culture is not to be played with. You know what I mean? And I know it's a lot of stuff going on. There's so many things that's happening right now that's pulling us, from different directions. But We always have to be on guard. We always have to be vigilant when it comes to things about our culture. Naturally, we're going to feel what the world feels because we are the world's first people. We are the original folk of this globe. So when something happens to someone else outside of our community, it still impacts us because we gave birth to everybody. So it's connected somehow. We always still have to stay on guard with our own culture. We have to make sure that we keeping that up first and foremost, right? We got to have the shield in one hand and the sword in the other at all times. We cannot let anything slide, regardless of how big or how small. This situation about ice cream, Juneteenth ice cream, it could be something that's small to some people, but like it's never small. It's never small because it's like seeing a roach in your house. If you see a roach in your house, you're not going to shrug your shoulders like, it just was a roach. Hell no. Bro, there's a roach in the house. Where there's one, there's more. Like, we got to do something to get rid of these damn roaches. We got to take to that. We got to have that kind of mentality when it comes to like people trying to capitalize off of our culture. Right? So before I close out, I want to make sure I take a chance to look at the comments, should be welcoming them into our culture. Why do we want them to be recognized? That's another thing too. We got to stop looking for validation outside. We have to stop seeking white validation for shit. It ain't got nothing to do with nobody but us. When it comes to like our culture or just us in general, like we do not need to be validated by somebody else who has a history of trying to colonize or to inhumanize us. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say, is we have to be on guard. It's important for us to be on guard. It's important to us to always understand like the significance of culture, the significance of why it is important for us to celebrate something like Juneteenth. If we don't know, it's okay. We have time to like look it up. That's the beauty of like living in the times that we live in now. We can get that information quick on our phone, whether it's, watching a YouTube video or like doing some deep diving research into like looking things up. It's important. So, again, I'm happy that this stuff got pulled. I have yet to like go into great depth and look into the apology that was issued from Walmart, but that's something I will look into as well. And I'm sure it's under the demise of like we're just trying to be a part of the solution. I'm sure there's something around that, but again, like there's certain things that we can't have. And there's other things too. It's certain things that like we should not see at a place like Walmart. We should not see Juneteenth items up at Walmart. We should not see things like Hanukkah up at Walmart as well. Things to, buy stuff from like Hanukkah. We should not see things to buy stuff from Kwanzaa like up at Walmart. These are like cultural. It's important that maintains from the culture. Now, if Walmart wants to partner with a business that does that of the culture, and then like that's cool. But this can't just come from like Walmart. You know what I mean? So anybody who in the past that has like bought items like that other culture from places like a Walmart or for like a Target or whatever. And I know, we can look at that too. Like, well, what about for like Black History Month? I know that Walmart and Target like sell things from like Black History Month. Yeah, they do. You have to look into who's behind this, right? I know that when we see like that display up for Black History Month in Target, I know it's a Black woman that's behind that. That Black woman has had a history of working in the community, of bringing awareness for corporate America about the importance of Black culture and not only for like cultural reasons, but also for like employment as well. So it's important for us to know who's in a position, who has a seat at a table that's there for us, who is this place, who is the face that's just sitting down there. You know what I mean? So that becomes so important. That's all I got for y'all tonight, man. It's late. I know some of us got to get ready, put these kids down if we haven't, to eat dinner or cook dinner if you haven't done that already. But again, let's make sure that we stay on guard. We keep our head on the swivel. We stay vigilant when it comes to our culture. Don't let any small, minute detail slide without just letting that pass, because we know that that small detail is going to turn into something else that's going to be a raging machine later if we don't check it. And don't think that just because this ice cream thing didn't go through, that they're not going to come back next year or try to do something else, even prior to this year, that they feel like it might be better. So just, keep that in mind, and let's make sure that we continue to uphold and uplift the practices of our culture to the utmost, fullest, at all times. All right, y'all. Peace.